We need exotics fixed, and we need it soon. Okay, let's start at the top. Let's talk about how you get exotics in the game right now currently. So, in D2 right now, there's easy methods to get exotics, and there's endgame methods to get exotics. So from the bottom, let's start with the easy ones. You have Xur, who can sell you an exotic for free every week for 90-something shards. And then there's the mini quest he also provides, which gives you another exotic. So you can get 2 exotics from him, basically for free for just doing whatever you normally do in the game. That's one. Then you have vendor engrams when you reset them, which typically is pretty easy on weeks where it's double or triple, whatever the activity may be, Vanguard, Crucible, Gambit, etc. Those are also fairly easy to obtain. And then you have prime engrams. For those that don't know, prime engrams can drop as an exotic instead of a prime when you have your prime attunement active. It doesn't happen all the time. It's not a very high chance, but occasionally here and there you will get an exotic instead of a prime as your reward. Additionally, you can also get an exotic in place of your powerful/pinnacle reward in certain activities. For example, let's say you do 3 Crucible games on your 3rd match. You normally would expect a legendary, but you might get an exotic as your reward instead. Again, not a super high chance, but it does happen here and there. Now let's get into the 2 endgame methods in which you get exotics, and this is what really greases my ass. So, you have Lost Sectors, which is fine normally. You have Legend and Master Lost Sectors, 2 difficulties, with one easier than the other. So you'd think that the easier difficulty Lost Sector, you'd get exotics that are not the highest stats in the world, but we'll get back to that. And then the other method is doing Nightfalls. So everything under GM for Nightfalls, you have a chance to get an exotic. Not super high, but it still does happen. So you can run like Master Nightfalls, for example, if you'd like, and you have a chance to get one. And then there's GMs, where for some reason you don't get a guaranteed exotic. You get a guaranteed shard and prisms and the weapon, but an exotic is not guaranteed, although it's fairly common, so it's not all that terrible. So systematically, we're looking kind of fine right now, not that big of a deal, but when you get into the details of these, it gets so bad, and the system needs so much reworking, it's ridiculous. So up until this point, you might be thinking, well, what's the problem? Seems fairly balanced to me. What is the issue? Well, let me show you a still image of something, and maybe you can see the problem for yourself. Ready? Here we go. You see this? Can you see what the problem is here? Yeah. For whatever reason, you can get exotic engrams, which are fairly rare to get in most activities, and then you get blessed with a roll like a 57. A 57, a roll you can pretty much consider a collection roll, because statistically, it serves you almost no purpose. Other than just getting an exotic for the first time ever, you would never want to see a 57 in your life, ever. And even then, why would you ever want to see a 57 on a brand new exotic? I don't know why these exist. This just does not reward the player. In fact, if anything, it wastes their time investment into getting these exotics when you just get a 57. Something that you would expect to get at like a public event, if that. Now, I will say, given that there are low-end sources in the game which you can get exotics, for like example Xur and vendors, etc., you think, okay, well, since the barrier to entry to get an exotic from these sources is, you know, not very difficult, and you can do it fairly easily, even solo, then okay, you can be like, all right, well, I'm rolling for a free exotic. Maybe, you know, if I get a low roll, it's okay. I didn't put, you know, much effort or time investment into it. It's fine. I got a 58. It is what it is. Better luck next time. Okay, that's fine. I totally agree with that. That is normal. That's not a big deal. However, those last 2 sources that I talked about, that can never happen. It is a joke that even exists in the first place. So let's take these one by one. Let's do GMs first. For GMs, as you know, you're negative 25 level under in GMs. So you're at a disadvantage out of the gate. Additionally, there's locked loadouts, and if you wipe, you get sent to orbit, right? Not exactly the easiest thing in the world for most people. Then, you have the reward system. You get a guaranteed weapon, guaranteed shard, guaranteed prisms, and then there's double Nightfall loot sometimes. For whatever reason, you don't have a guaranteed exotic. Why is that? I have no idea. Fun fact, did you know that there are 37 armor pieces for each class in the game, totaling to 111 exotic armor pieces in the game? And given the laws of averages, that means there are roughly 9 pieces of each armor type per character in the game. So, given that you have a 1 in 9 chance of even getting something that you would want in an armor piece, and then after that, you have to roll the statistical, BS of getting the correct numbers in those exotics, how is it that we can't even have a guaranteed exotic drop on something like a GM Nightfall? Like, let's say, for example, you're on a Warlock. You're like me, you want a good Controverse hold. So, you have a 1 in 9 chance of getting a Controverse hold. That's even if you're doing targeted farming, by the way. If you're doing a GM, there is no targeted farming. You have a 1 in 4 chance of getting the gloves that you want. Gloves, helmet, chest, and boots. And then after that 25% chance, then you have a 1 in 9 chance of getting the gloves that you did want. And after that, you have a whatever the statistical analysis might be of getting the exact stats that you want. By the way, another fun fact, Controverse, never roll Discipline on your Ghost because it has Discipline built in. A lot of people don't know that either. That's another thing. So, you have all of these RNG aspects built into these things. And you're telling me, after all of that, not only do we not have a guaranteed source from GMs to get an exotic every time, but then also, you have it where you can get a roll that's like a 57 on an exotic? A 57 in an activity where I'm 25 under, and my loadout is locked, and if I wipe, I go to orbit, and I can't even get an exotic that's like at least bare minimum 62, 63, 64? Really? Is that where we're going with this? So by comparison, let me take another piece of in-game content here. The Duality Dungeon, the Kaido final boss. On Master, 1600 light, by the way, this season. You can farm that boss to get armor pieces every single run. Every single run, you get at least 1, or you can get up to 2 armor pieces every single run, right? In that dungeon, you are guaranteed, not even factoring a ghost mod for any stat that you want, you are guaranteed a armor piece to have at least 1 stat in the plus 20s every single run. Every single run. Most times you get 2 stats in the 20 plus range, and then whatever else distributed. Not only that, but you also have it where the armor will not drop below the 60s threshold. Never, not a single time will you ever get a 59, 58, 57. Not a single time ever. Why does this exist in the Duality Dungeon, but not for exotics? And don't get me wrong, the Duality Dungeon is good for that distribution. Like, you put in the work, you get juicer armor, you get rewarded, and then you can farm whatever you want for your statistics. You can use the ghost mod for that. Why is this system not in the rest of the endgame when it comes to armor? In this case, exotic armor. Why is it that I can't do a GM and at least expect to get rewarded an exotic armor piece and then be rewarded with, like, at least a 62 bare minimum base? I'm not even saying we have to get, like, plus 20 stats on the exotic to boot, just like Duality, but at least a bare minimum of having, like, a 62 plus drop, just to say that we didn't just get a 57 with, like, 25 strength that I will throw in the trash immediately before I even leave the strike and go to orbit. I think that is very fair, in my opinion. Maybe you guys disagree, but I think that's pretty fair. Now, we're going to take the same problem and talk about lost sectors, because lost sectors have the same exact issue, but even on a worse scale. So the targeted system for lost sectors is probably, like, the only positive right now we have currently for this system in regards to lost sectors. You can actually target which armor type you want, helmet, gloves, chest, boots, etc., and go on that day and then farm that out. That's fine. The problem is, once you get into the lost sector, you have, like, a 1 in 7 or 8 shot in your runs to get an exotic. And that's on Master, by the way. From personal experience, as someone who has literally over 10,000 lost sectors and doing Master runs, that's probably the average where you would get an exotic. Legend, probably even worse than that. I don't even want to think about that. But anyway, so get an exotic every, like, 7-8 runs, whatever. That doesn't even bother me. That's fine, At least it kind of has some consistency. Not really, but at least that's there. The issue is that once you do finish those runs and you finally get an exotic, your drop chance of getting what you want is already criminally low, like 1 in 9 odds, 1 in 10, so it could be like a 10% chance of getting the exotic that you want. And after that, you need to hope that your exotic is not complete dog water in the sense of 57, 58, 59, like, that's an instant delete for me. I imagine that's the same thing for most people. And then, you know, you gotta hope for the stat distribution as well. You don't want 25 mobility on a Warlock exotic, right? So, those factors all put it together. I don't understand how this system is supposed to be encouraging or respect the time investment of players at all. Me personally, as an example, I tried to farm Contra results for the last couple of nights. It's been gloves and lost sectors, and I've done over 100 runs in these lost sectors, most on Master. Out of over 100 runs, you know how many controversies that I got? 0. I got a straight fat 0. And I did this on stream, so you know I'm not making it up. You can literally watch me do it on stream. I got a fat, nice 0 contra results. I got like 5 getaway artists, 5 nothing manacles, which is basically Kmart brand controverse holds. Never got the one that I wanted, though. Never got a controverse. I did get, however, as you saw the screenshot earlier in the video, some nice juicy 58 controverse holds. Or, sorry, not controverse holds, nothing manacles. That is not getting rewarded. That is basically worse than getting 1 enhancement core per run. To me, anyway. That is not a good use of time investment, to me, in the game. So I think exotics need an overhaul in the sense of obtaining them, or at least respecting the statistical drop rate on these. Bare minimum, Master Lost Sectors and Grandmasters both need to have exotics dropping at like a 62 base, bare minimum. That is the bare minimum that you should do for players putting in their time to farming these, just because there are so many variables of statistics and RNG built into these for us to get. You know, you gotta apply the correct ghost mod, you gotta hope that the stats don't land in 2 bad other stats, even aside from whichever ghost mod you're targeting. There's so many different layers to this that this system is just broken. Straight up broken. So what would I do? How would I fix these things? Well, first off, without adding anything new to the game, for GMs, I'd say guarantee 1 exotic every single run for GMs, bare minimum. I don't think that's a lot to ask for. Just having an exotic dropping is not a big deal, given that there's 37 pieces for each character. It's not like, you know, you're giving people a direct source of just farming whatever god roll they want. So 1 guaranteed exotic in a GM period, I think is fine. For lost sectors, for Master, you gotta do something. You gotta increase the odds of them dropping. Maybe build in a streak system where the more you do in a row, or the more you do successfully in a row, then you build up your RNG to having the exotics drop more commonly. Like, let's say if you do 10 in a row where you completed them, you didn't go to orbit, lose all your tokens, then you get like a 5% boost to your exotics dropping in a Master Lost Sector. Something along those lines. Additionally, I think Bungie should introduce a system on exotics where you kind of have like a base cooldown on a particular armor type that you can target. For example, glass needles is probably not the best term to use, but let's say they brought them back and just called them glass needles, and this item would basically serve as you going through your exotic collection, picking out any particular exotic armor piece on whatever character that you are playing. So again, for me, Contra Results is the example. I would go to this item, I would pick out Contra Results, and then the item would basically say, for the next 24 hours, your chances of controversial holds dropping from any exotic source in the game is increased by blah, blah, blah %. And you can use this buff or whatever consumable every 24 hours to increase the chances of that exotic. And then this item, you can put wherever the hell you want in the game. You can make it a reward from completing master raids or dungeons or regular raids, nightfalls, whatever it may be. So it becomes a valuable currency or consumable source in the game to farm, giving people more incentive to do these activities, and then you have to give people a better chance of getting 1 out of their 37 exotics for armors that they want to target farm in the game without people wanting to, how should I put this, slam their heads against the desk when they go 100 runs without getting a single copy of the exotic they want. Is that fair? I feel like that is. But let me know what you guys think. I'm sure other people have other solutions to this kind of problem. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, subscribe. It does help the channel. And I'll catch you guys in the next rambling rant video that I hopefully won't have to do going into next season. All right? Catch you next time.